I work with online coaches and creators, helping them to build simple, leveraged 10K per month online businesses. And in 2025, I worked with over 80 coaches in different capacities. In this video, I'm going to share the one common theme that all of the high earners had, what the six-figure earners had in common, the people who were consistently doing 8, 10, 12, even up to 15 and $18,000 months. There was one common theme and pattern that emerged throughout the year. I'm going to share that with you. I'm also going to break down the 3 different elements of what I share so that you can implement this into your own business and into your content and into your life going into 2026, and you can make the biggest impact and have the best year of business that you have had to date. So first and foremost, what is it that these people had? What was it that the coaches who saw massive growth, who saw overnight success, it would seem, although of course nothing is ever overnight success, but these coaches who went from 2K a month to 10K a month within the space of 4 or 5 months, or a coach who added $50,000 to his revenue over a 6-month period, or a coach who hit his first ever $18,000 month and then backed that up with 2 more months between 16 and 18K. What did these people have that the people stuck at 3 or 4K a month all year didn't have? Well, these people leverage the power of their personal brand. And personal brand is a word that we hear thrown around a lot, but a lot of us don't really know what it is. And the way I like to think about personal brand is it is your CV to the world. It is your social CV. It is your CV in terms of how clients perceive you. It is your CV for potential collaborations. It is also your CV for jobs if that's what you want. But if you're watching this video, you're probably building your own business and not interested in a job. However, your personal brand will certainly open up job opportunities if that is something that you wanted, perhaps in the future. Your personal brand is effectively your ticket to everything you want, socially, professionally, financially. It is what connects you with people. It is how people perceive you. It is how they trust you, they like you, they get to know you. And personal brand is a strange thing because to an extent, we all have one. Now, you might think I haven't done any personal branding, but if you have been, for example, creating very generic, very boring content, and it's just very informative and you haven't put a lot of thought into sharing your ideas, or you haven't put a lot of thought into your marketing, you're kind of just posting and hoping, you're actually building a personal brand. But the personal brand that you're building is just another coach. Your potential clients are lumping you into a bucket with all the other coaches who look and who sound the same, and all of the coaches that they probably won't buy from. So whether you like it or not, you are building a personal brand. It is simply your public perception, and it is what people say about you in rooms that you are not in. Now, personal brand is something that must be purposefully created. So there are people online who would tell you that, hey, you just have to be authentic. And for sure, that is a piece. But personal brand is really made up of 3 main components, 3 very important components, and 3 components that you have to get right if you want to build a powerful personal brand. So component number 1 is your identity and your story. And this is the authenticity piece. This is the piece where you share your story, you share your values, you share what you're about, you share behind the scenes of your life. This is the authentic piece. And this is where people get to know you and trust you and like you. And it doesn't really matter what you share. I share that I play the flute. Very Irish of me, I know. But I play traditional music on the Irish flute. It has nothing to do with the fact that I also help people to make money and get clients and build businesses, right? It's completely unrelated. You could kind of tie them together by showing that I have, dedicated time. And when I mean time, I've done my 10,000 hours. I've done the whole mastery principle. So I could tie it in there. I could tie it in with the fact that I have time to practice. I could make them kind of be synergistic, but essentially playing the traditional Irish flute is kind of disconnected from what I do, professionally at least. But it does actually show my character. It builds depth. It builds know, like, and trust with people. And of course, I'm sharing my story. which is past and present and future. So what I've overcome to get here, what I'm going through now, what I'm working on now, what my goals are now. You can see all of that stuff on my Instagram account. I share a lot of it, the same username. And of course, my future, where I am going. That's the first piece. And that is very, very important, because that is where people actually like you and listen to you and want to know more. But a lot of people kind of stop there. And this is where influencers and just creators get stuck, because they share their entire lives, absolutely everything, but then they don't make any money. And that's because they stop there and they don't move to the next part of personal branding, which is your market and your message. So who you are trying to appeal to, who you can help, what you do for other people, and how the story relates to them. So, for example, me sharing my story of how I went from being a drug-addicted bartender in Ireland 10 years ago to then getting into a gym and working as a PT, and then realizing that wasn't for me, and getting into online business, and then building a business that I didn't like, and realizing that just sending DMs all the time wasn't a way to live, and there must be a better way to do it, and then finding leverage, and now building leverage businesses with funnels and automations and all of that stuff. That story is relevant to the people that I help. It's relevant because I have people who I help who are on a similar journey. But if I don't know who I want to help, if I don't know what I can do for the world, then other people aren't going to just read through the story and be like, let them help me. You need to be very clear on the market, who you serve, and the message, like, what are you about? Because there's a bunch of people who coach business, right? You can find tons of them online. I have like 20 of them in my inbox every day trying to sell me stuff. But it is your message, and my message is leverage. I want you to be able to get more out of every input that you do. I don't want you to have to manually grind. I like freedom. I'm here in beautiful sunny Spain, escaping the winter. I don't want a huge team. I don't want a huge amount of responsibility. I rely very much on skills and systems and strategies and automation and marketing and all of these things, where I can run this very, very lean. The profit margins are high. I don't have to have a huge team. I don't have a ton of responsibility. I live a really great life. And that's just the way that I want to do things. So for some people that will resonate, but if you want to build a big team of 50 team members and multiple coaches and all that, like, I'm probably not going to be the best fit for you. So it's the market, who you serve, and the message, how you serve them, and what you stand for. And the third and final part, and by the way, if this stuff is interesting to you, if you click the link below, I share a ton of insight on this on my emails every single day, and I just drop them with my morning coffee. It's off the cuff, so it's often my best content goes in there because it's real. It's not like scripted or created. It's just me dumping my thoughts, and people absolutely love it, and it's one of the best parts of my day. So click the link, come join us. There's some free bonuses as well if you click that link. Part number 3 is the actual authority and intellectual property piece. So I want you to think of somebody you know, like, trust, respect. There's a good chance that they've got some piece of intellectual property. So if you think of James Clear, none of us knew James Clear until he came up with Atomic Habits, and that's because he created something. He created his own intellectual property. It gave him authority. It also gave us something to consume, to get to know James. We love James for his ideas. I'm sure he's a great guy, by the way, but we wouldn't know him without his ideas, without his intellectual property. And because he's written a book, we perceive him as an expert in habits. Now, I don't actually know. Maybe he is the world's leading expert on habits, but maybe there are other leading experts who haven't written a book, and James went and spoke to the experts and wrote the book, and now he is regarded as the expert. Not that he isn't, but the very act of creating intellectual property and of writing a book. And before you go, oh, but Owen, I'm not ready to write a book, I'm just getting started, or I don't even want to write a book. Intellectual property can be anything that you own. It can be a system or a framework. It can be a book, of course. It can be a course. It can be a series of content. It can be anything that you create that nobody else can replicate, that has your name on it, and it gives you authority. On top of that, we actually want to look at, like, what builds authority and how are we perceived. Again, we can go through life and pretend that we don't care about the opinions of others and it doesn't matter, but we're social creatures. We live in societies, and it's very important that we actually think about how we are perceived by others if we want to be successful. Part of authority is, like, how are you being perceived? If I was, recording this video talking about how to build a personal brand that helps you make 6 figures online, and I was recording it from a basement sitting in a cardboard box, you wouldn't take me that seriously, all right? And you shouldn't, because the authority is like diminished or diluted, because visually you're not actually seeing coherence between what I'm saying and what I'm showing you. The fact that I'm here in the sunshine, it's the middle of January. In Ireland, if you're watching Ireland, people are under snow and ice and frost and everyone's giving out about the cold. Here I am, chilling out in the sun, wearing a shirt, palm trees behind me, spend the morning running on the beach with my dog. Like, I can't fake that. And obviously I'm consciously showing the lifestyle that my business has allowed me to build, because that also builds my authority and it also shows you what is possible for you. So those are the three elements of personal branding. Going into 2026, you need to have a personal brand or you're going to get left behind, because information has gone to zero. ChatGPT can come up with pretty much better information than you or I in 10 seconds, and it might take us 2 hours to write that out. Also in terms of the promises, so people think, oh, I get a great offer, then everything sorts itself out. But we all have the promises, right? You've got the people in your DMs, the teenagers, the people in third world countries who are offering you to, some crazy thing. I'll make you 10K this month, or you don't pay and I give you 5K back if we don't hit the result. But you just ignore them, because the promises are not actually legit, and everyone has just come up with such crazy promises that they're not believable anymore. So the information is useless, the promises are useless, and the only thing that's really left in 2026 is interesting, exciting, inspiring people that we know, like, and trust, and that we want to work with and build a relationship with and be led by. And that is where your personal brand comes in. That is the role of personal brand. Those are the three pillars. Go and get stuck in. I wish you the best in 2026.